Hello, my name's Keith and I'm known as the Florida Stone Man, and today I have a very special video for you. I'm going to teach you how you can use herbs. Yes, herbs. How cool. And there's a lot of people in the area, although I'm in my car, so I'm able to teach the video without any interruption. But in this video specifically, I'm going to talk to you all about how to use herbs. Yes, disclaimer, this is not a physical video. This is spiritual knowledge based on spiritual information that's going to help you spiritually. Let me make that very nice and straight to the point. This is going to help you spiritually. This is not going to help you physically. Cool, my disclaimer is out there. Woohoo, as I bounce my car. And yeah, if you see the camera bouncing, Stone Man weighs quite a bit. Stone Man weighs quite a bit. So when it comes to you guys wondering how much I weigh with these on, a bit, but they're light because my soul is light and I feel good and everything's right. So back to the video topic. When it comes to you guys working with herbs, most of you I tell you not to, well, I actually tell you down to a T and how you guys can use herbs, because most of you can use herbs correctly, and I'm going to give you the best analogy in the entire world. Let's just say, for example, you are someone who doesn't know how to cook, and when it comes to the spiritual world, you're cooking up something, you're cooking up a manifestation of some kind. If you're using herbs to cook, and you're making herbs and you're cooking, and you don't know what you're doing, and you're tossing a whole bunch of stuff together, and you don't really know what the specified outcome is. Let's just say you're going to make chicken and you wanted to make shrimp out of the chicken, but the ingredients didn't apply because the ingredients don't do that. The ingredients don't transfer over like that. So one thing you have to understand is that certain herbs will do certain things, and especially in the case of people who are not energetically aligned, they'll do something a little different sometimes, but not in your favor. Now, so like I said, you can cook something very incorrectly up. That's why a lot of people, when they go to cleanse their homes, will see a mess, and people can't admit to it because people are not spiritually mature enough to admit to it. But for example, when people wave around sage and they burn sage in their home, about a week and a half, you will see some kind of crazy drama. Why is that? Watch my sage video. Watch that video. People are like, no, it's sacred. It's sacred, but you also have to follow a sacred protocol as well. If you're not cleansing the whole home, the front door, the corners, you're not keeping the place clean, you're not washing the floor, you're not cleansing the inhabitants in the home, you're not untying knots, because evil spirits will hide in knots. Not many people know that. I thought everyone knew that, but that's why you see that little black smoke when you're cleansing, and it looks like it's something from you when you just burn something, but it's just kind of moving around. It's exactly what you think it is. Or not really, because you didn't know it before I told you. Some people did. But that's evil spirits hiding in things. That's why they'll hide in the corners. It's because they can back themselves against the wall while you cleanse the home, and because they know you're not going to do it correctly most of the time. So it's really important for you guys to use herbs correctly. What about crystals? Why do I recommend you guys use crystals over herbs? It's because when you use a crystal versus an herb, you have less room of error. Actually, you don't have any room of error. The only room of error is not cleansing and charging it. That's pretty useful, huh? So when you use a crystal, it's like a computer. It's on autopilot. When you use an herb, it's like you're cooking something. Herbs are of the earth. Crystals are of the heavens. Revelation even says that, Revelation states that crystals are in heaven. Crystals are all throughout the Bible. Now, when it comes to herbs, yeah, herbs are all throughout the Bible as well, but there's very specific protocols with herbs throughout the Bible. Very specific rules. Now, you will see my shorts, and you'll see in my short videos, I'll say, okay, do this, and that. So I'm very specific. I'm not just like, or I'll just tell you use this herb and a couple mannerisms that I've taught you to use herbs. For example, I'll tell you to burn as an incense, which is technique number 1. I'm not going to number these techniques because there's an array of things you can do. So there's floor washes, there's baths, there's incense, there's different angel techniques that you can use by putting it in angel statues, or putting a bag on your angel statue, which empowers the angel statue. Or you can anoint angel statues, you can make oils. You can consecrate items, objects. You can consecrate crystals with oils, which is pretty cool. It's how I bless some of my crystals for some of you who get custom jewelry from me. And even for, especially for custom jewelry, like if you're under spiritual attack and you get a black tourmaline custom necklace from floridastoneman.com, guess what? I anoint it to defeat all your enemies, if you're not in the wrong. But, well, it aligns you if you're in the wrong. But if you're not in the wrong, it just takes care of all your enemies, assuming you're not bringing in enemies. Now, when it comes to spiritual information with herbs, you can use them, and you have to understand these are all different elements. So people don't even think about that. So there's fire, water, earth, air that you have to understand. So certain herbs will translate into the fifth dimension in very different ways. Why do I recommend you not? I mean, one thing is, when you burn specific herbs as an incense, you should not burn specific herbs as incense if you have no idea what you're doing. Sometimes your guides don't even want you doing that. Sometimes you'll just make a bigger mess. Sometimes you'll attract things, because not all herbs run off demons. That's why people do so many black magic with herbs. It's because sometimes the demons will take the herb and use it for black magic. Or that's why you have to know in your spirit quadrant or your spirit guides. Mostly I work with angels, so angelic guides. Sometimes a demon will try to arm itself with some kind of incense that you're using. For example, if you're using let's just say you're using, here's a good sign as well. So let's just say you're using garlic and asafoetida, and you're using these herbs that are very pungent, and they seem to feel like they stink when you use them. That's because something around you is using it in a sense that it's being ran off, or using it in the sense that that herb's not going to smell good for you. For example, if you use sulfur, which the ancient Egyptians have used for a very long time, the sulfur it actually smells very sweet and it smells delicious. But if it's getting something out that's bad, or if there's something around that's bad that might be trying to use the sulfur to direct the sulfur's energy to doing bad with it, because herbs can be used for bad, but they always backfire. So it's to teach the person, whoever is using it, to not do it, but people don't learn. So sulfur is supposed to smell really good. So a good sign is when you're burning the herbs, when you're using the incense, assuming it's supposed to smell good, that it smells good. If it's supposed to smell good and it smells horrible, it means there's something around, or that's a shadow aspect about yourself. Now, and yeah, how can you use an herb correctly? Well, a lot of you should stay away from, I mean, because this is very vague information. This is very specific information at the same time, but sometimes, and why is it vague and specific at the same time? Some of your guides don't like certain herbs. For example, if you're working with an ancestor and that ancestor hates lavender, and sometimes just based off of an ancestor not really just hating an essence, if they hate an essence in the afterlife, then they haven't elevated past that essence, which means it tells you exactly where they're at in the afterlife. But angels, for example, love lavender. Now, what does it mean when you hate lavender? It means you haven't grown past a crown chakra blockage. So it should tell you everything when an ancestor or something doesn't, because sometimes an ancestor won't be fully elevated. That's why you're there to elevate them. Sometimes you have to know when to use an herb, even when your ancestor doesn't like it, because sometimes it's like, okay, too bad, ancestor, this job needs to be done. It's just how it is. Your ancestors, if they were so helpful, they'd help you be exactly where you wanted to be. So some ancestors are not able to help you, or they should be helping, they should be being uplifted themselves, or helping themselves, or moving closer to God, because some ancestors are actually not always good. That's why I don't teach about working with ancestors, is because some ancestors are not elevated. Like, they want to do this versus, and I'm not kidding about that either, instead of for helping you elevate and grow. Some of them still have earthly addictions, etc., and have not elevated, and your job is to be elevating them, if you can. Now, angels love lavender. They love mostly every herb. Now let's talk about some techniques you can use. You can burn as incense. And you have to know the incense property of herbs has to do with passing it to the fifth dimension. So you're using fire and to create this element of herbs into a smoke. So it's kind of like a sacrificial energy at the same time. So it's like you kind of, remember, herbs are life. In science, like, they look at herbs under microscope, a microscope, as I bounce the car, like laughing, as herbs are live and they can feel things. So when you burn it, it's like sacrificing. So that's why in the Bible which sacrifices are heavy in especially Leviticus. So it's in essence trading for another outcome to happen. It just started raining, so I'm gonna close this. But it's in essence training for another outcome to happen. So for example, when you want an outcome of you winning the lottery, you would burn nutmeg and orange, for example, because that held a specific element about it to help you win, and you kind of made like a trade. Now when people hear trade, energetic trade, that's evil. But when you're doing it correctly, and you're doing it out of light, and you're doing it for everything that's right, it's been used as in the Bible a whole bunch of times. So when people say, "Oh, burning incense is evil," okay, tell God that. So when people tell you all this stuff is evil, just ignore them, because in reality, they're just the enemy in sheep's clothing, a wolf in sheep's clothing. So a lot of people who say, "Oh, burning herbs is evil," it has its properties physically and spiritually, but I'm only talking about the spiritual aspects. So burning them is very powerful at creating change. You want to open the doors when you burn them, get the entities, energies out and good energies in. So you have to think about it like this. Pine trees, for example, and that's not a good example. Pine trees, yeah. Let's just say you're burning lemongrass, right? Or you're burning rosemary, which grows, it's a very strong frequency. It's very empowering. So when you burn that and you let it go in your house and the smoke goes around your house, it takes the energy of the home and it puts it on the frequency of rosemary. So just think about it in frequency at this point. So the entire frequency of the home becomes very strong and very empowered. So especially any woman in the home, or men too, especially men who have not worked on their divine feminine, which men need to work on that. Law of gender, if you want to be abundant, you can't be abundant without working on your divine feminine. That's the law of gender. You can't pass universal law. You literally have a masculine side of your body and a feminine side of your body. People are like, no, bro, I lift, bro. Yeah, those people, I'm not, that's a different video topic, but that's why people like that can't hold healthy relationships. It's because they have too much yin or too much yang. Chinese medicine knows that, but I'm not talking about that. Now, when it comes to herbs, you can also use a diffuser for those who can't burn stuff in their house, but you have to understand diffusers, water element. So you're using a water element, and that's very good for certain herbs if you want to work with the properties such as peppermint to cool yourself down. And it has less of a sacrificial element and more of an essential element. That's why you use essential oils. How cool is that? Now, you can use peppermint and basil, for example, for financial abundance. And just know that all the green herbs are good for wealth and abundance. That's like, why don't you talk about specific herbs? If it tastes good, if it smells good, it's good for financial abundance. Secret. I mean, generally, because sometimes certain herbs will be more so shadow herbs. What's a shadow herb? It'll have you working on yourself before you see any form of financial abundance. So what about, and just associate certain colors with what they do. So blue lotus, blue whatever, blue, throat, crown chakra. White flowers has to do with purity, the crown chakra, the upper crown chakra. Purple, like lavender, the crown chakra. Solar plexus, like just associate the herbs with crystals. So every crystal has a counterpart where it has an herb friend. So lapis lazuli is blueberry. Rose quartz, rose, who could have guessed? Every gemstone, what are some more? Well, moonstone, for example. Moonstone's lunar plant. Moonwort. I mean, there's a whole bunch. So let's just say green aventurine, 4-leaf clover. There's a whole bunch. I'm not gonna go down every herb that God has ever made because there's a lot, but I'd mainly suggest you burn them, diffuse them, use them as floor washes. And let's talk about floor washes a little bit. Do essential oil floor washes, or you can use tea. Just be careful with coffee, because coffee will keep everyone awake. So you want to do anything with coffee in the morning. So I would stay away from anything with too much sugar. So like when you use sugar to sweeten something, just know it can keep you awake. So what's more information you should know about is floor washes. You want to go towards the front door when you're getting rid of something. or towards the back of your house when you're entering something new. So if you're cleansing, push stuff out, welcoming stuff in, going in your front door. So you'd use harsher herbs to cleanse. For example, you use, some people don't want to do this, but garlic essential oil, a drop of garlic essential oil. And then you go from the back to your front of your house in a floor wash. You can use, and just a drop. You won't smell it. No one will smell it. You can use clove, garlic, and you could push it, everything that's dark forces from the back to the front, and to welcome it in when you do a floor wash. You'll do like lemon and things that are like, oh, they feel so good, like peppermint, sandalwood, and you'll do it going in. Does it matter too much? If you're just doing it to do it, then not too much, but the intention does matter. Now, you can use things such as powders and whatnot, but those are, I won't teach too much about what people can do incorrectly, because people will make powders and they'll end up having to get kicked out of their house or wherever they're living because they didn't know what they were doing. I'll leave that for the very specific information aspects of my future videos. Maybe I might make a future video talking about how to use powders specifically, but because it could be just wildfire if the person's energy isn't aligned. So stick to floor wash, and even floor washes, just stick with 1 or 2 herbs for most people. When you get into advanced spirituality, go more than 1 herb or 2 herbs, because if you have a bunch of people in the house and they're all energetically unaligned and you try to cleanse the home, people are fighting, yelling, screaming, their energy didn't want to leave, and you kicked it out when they had a dark attachment that they were attached to. So I'll teach more about this in the future. If you have any questions, ask them in the comment section. Let me know how you like this video. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.